Episode of the O'Grady Factor is going to be joined by comedian Andrew Kelso. Andrew Kelso performed at the Melbourne Comedy Festival earlier this year, doing a fantastic routine about the history of Melbourne. It was full of laughs, very informative, some stuff about Melbourne I didn't know, and the fact that he could pull off a show about the history of a city and make it as funny as he did is a credit to him in himself. He is a fantastic comedian with a great future to come, and this interview, hopefully, will be fantastic. I'm Grading, and I am joined by the biggest Z-Grey celebrity around who performed at the Melbourne Comedy Festival this year, Mr. Andrew Kelso.
Hello. I love the name, the Grady Factor.
Yeah,
is that like the G Factor?
No, it's actually kind of rip off of the O'Reilly Factor from Fox.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
It's a parody, but I'm much more nicer.
So, apart from that, though, it's exactly the same thing.
We'll do it live.
And thank you for describing me as a Z-class comedian as well. I now have the rating of a tram.
Well, you had a show and you had people at your show. That's more than most.
That's true. I had a few people, yeah.
Like, I had a show and not even my mum came, so, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Lots of other people showed up, just not your mum.
But it got rave reviews from myself.
So, yeah, isn't it fantastic how on TripAdvisor you can put your own reviews?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
No one would get a positive review otherwise.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just like, Liam O'Grady did fantastic.
So, thought the middle was a bit slow.
Yeah, I did, yep. My audience participation wasn't the best.
But to be fair, he didn't have an audience.
No. So, has anyone been to California lately? Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, come on, is this thing on?
Anyways, so you did the Melbourne Comedy Festival. How'd that come about?
Yeah, it was really good. I've been performing stand-up for about 5 years now. At the time, I'd only been performing 4 years because it's been almost a year now.
So I've been a bit busy this year to do this interview.
I'm still not mastered the art of interviews yet.
Yeah.
But no, I did. I've always been sort of wanting to do it, and it's kind of the next logical step, I suppose. And I've always loved history, and so I thought I'd combine the two warring factions of comedy and history.
Oh, that's always the best shows.
Exactly, yeah. So we're two things that don't go together.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's
beautiful.
But because Melbourne's got a fascinating history. There's lots of interesting things about Melbourne's history that a lot of people don't know. And I've always, and I guess when I wanted to do a show, I wanted to do something a bit different. So I did a show that was basically, it was called A Virtual Tour of Melbourne. But that name was the first mistake I made. Seriously, the amount of people that went into it saying, well, I thought it was going to be a tour. A few people even thought I was going to do VR, because it was called A Virtual Tour of Melbourne. A few people went in there saying, where's the headsets? So that was a bit annoying, but it was good. It was really good. And anyway, so I did that. That was my first hour-long show. And I did that, and it was basically just, we went sort of through the use of a slideshow. Went round to about...
the best?
Best? The next step, VR headsets.
Did you cross-dissolve and how it comes from the back goes like that? Oh.
I cross-dissolved and cross-transitioned.
What font what's that font that everyone loves so much?
Helvetica, is it?
No.
Times New Roman.
No, that's the typical font.
Arial?
Comic Sans.
Comic Sans.
Yeah, did you use Comic Sans at all?
The whole thing. I submitted my application in Comic Sans. Whoever invented Comic Sans is the most... Mr. Comic Sans is the most famous font designer in history. Do you use Comic Sans?
No, I do not. I use Times New Roman. It's just...
Same here.
Blatant.
Yeah. But, yeah.
What I do, with some of my articles I write on my website that everyone knows about, not even my family. I just use Times New Roman. It's just bland and original.
It's a good font. It's sort of, it's got that kind of official edge to it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So why did you get into comedy? Did you just think to yourself, people say I'm funny?
No, people said I wasn't funny and I wanted to prove them wrong. I don't know. Well, I still do it mostly for my writing. I still consider myself a writer more than a performer.
Yes, I do.
And
see
so
you,
do the
I
reviewers.
do see you in Starbucks. And
with a scarf and I just,
You sit in the middle of the cafeteria. You don't sit on the side. You want people to know that you're writing.
Exactly, yeah.
Someone walks past you. Oh, yeah, I'm actually writing this. He goes, yes, it's about this.
Yes, I said you ask. I've actually got a weird special screen that can be seen from all sides of the cafe, so everyone knows what I look. A weird cylinder screen.
I can imagine you, going up. Oh, hey, so what can I get for you? Yeah, so I'm writing this novel.
I actually deliberately spill coffee on people's shirts and then say, oh, sorry, I'll get you some more. I'm a writer. What am I writing, you ask? Well, just this novel. It's about this young wizard. But no, yeah, because that's really that's why I do anything, is for the writing. That's why I'm doing this. It's just for the writing. I got into performing stand-up when I was 16, and And ever since then, I've been performing it, and it was really just as a vehicle to kind of get my writing out there. And I really set out. I admire comics who can stand up there, and I admire some comics who can stand up there and just do it off the cuff.
So, what do you plan to do once your voice breaks?
I hope that day never comes. I've had a surgery that would ensure that day will never happen. There's other side effects as well, but it's worth it.
Oh, so you had the Michael Jackson treatment.
My voice actually did break very briefly on about March 2nd, 2012, but thankfully it went back again.
But you just dropped your voice on the ground. Ah,
yeah,
God,
damn it! I broke my voice on the ground.
No, you dropped it. Oh, damn it!
Damn bugger, not again! Quick, pass me the voice glue, love.
Duct tape.
That's good now. That's better. Dude, my voice is actually higher than it was before.
Sounds like Mickey Mouse.
So, I get that a lot. Yeah. So that's how I got into it, and then I've been performing ever since. And like I said, the show was sort of the next thing to do. You really can't become a stand-up comic until you can't call yourself a stand-up comic until you've done a full-length festival show, and it went really well. I was surprised by how many shows were sold out. And it was remarkably, well, it wasn't easy to do. It was a hell of a lot of work and stress, but I would recommend it. It was a lot more satisfying than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like when you organise a party, and no one who organises their own party enjoys it, do they?
No.
It's enjoyable to everyone except those who go along to it. And I thought that would be what like doing a festival show was like, but it wasn't. It was actually quite fun. So.
I know at one of your shows that two people didn't show up because someone's car broke down on the way to the train station.
That's right, those tossers.
What an absolute wanker.
Oh, a complete prick.
Oh.
Whoever those people are, I'm going to run them over. I'm going to strand them.
Yep.
Yeah, at Werribee Station, I think, wasn't it?
No, it was leaving Ballarat.
Oh.
And I just topped up my car. We're heading down, and it just started making a noise. It's check engine.
Yeah.
Full of oil. I think it's the connection from the oil to the car or the engine.
Yeah.
Was broken.
Any mechanic experts out there?
Yeah. It was usually with me. My car knowledge is that it has 4 wheels and goes boom boom. If it doesn't go boom boom, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, that's the same reason you got into veterinary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then I actually deliberately had the room turned around so that it could embarrass anyone who walked in late. That was the weird thing about my venue is that there was no way of getting in, and you discovered that, didn't you?
No, it wasn't me. It was someone we know personally well, Jeffrey. That was late.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I'm like my entire life. I come early.
When you're on time, you're early.
Yeah.
Do you fashionably late? Is like you're extremely fashionable in the sense you're always late.
Oh yeah, I'm fashionably early. Yeah. But sometimes I just rock up naked. That's how fashionably early I can be.
So you're bringing naked early back.
Yes.
You're actually naked right this minute.
Oh, I am. It's very good, very sexy.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
This is why people say I have the face for radio.
Among other things. But the room was weird like that, wasn't it? It was set up in such a way, and I didn't really choose it, but I just there was a great venue, fantastic venue, ESO Studio.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I would recommend anyone. There were amazing people to work with. They were there fully to help the comics. They were so sort of placid and friendly and understanding about everything, and the show would have been half as good as it was. ESO Studio in Brunswick Street in Fitzroy. I'd recommend any other comics out there to give that venue, and they're pretty open. They'll take they took me, so they'll take anyone. But the venue was set up in such a way that the room that you had to walk in past literally across the stage to get in. So I had lots of lines ready in case people were late, and that encouraged people not to be late.
And I'm so glad there wasn't a fire because we would be screwed in that case.
That's right. I did lose quite a few people due to fires.
Yeah, but that's not a good PR thing to do.
After the great 4th show incident, people said, "Look, it's not a good show. Yeah, quite. That other joke went well. Good crowd. It was a shame about how you lost most of them in that fire."
Well, see, that's why a lot of people went to your 5th show because it was like Andrew Kelso was fire. They all thought, "Wow, he was good." No, you just actually lost a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. The fatalities. I mean, no one ever talks about those anyway. So
nah.
Yeah, they probably lost me 1 star at most.
Anyways, you are listening to The Grady Factor with comedian Andrew Kelso. So, Andrew, tell me about your first ever show. How nervous were you?
When was that? That was when I did a course. I was pretty nervous. I was interestingly, I still get nervous about things, but that first gig, I don't remember being especially nervous.
So nervous you punched the microphone.
So nervous, I get so nervous. Oh, is it okay? I get extremely nervous sometimes. Yes, I just have this weird phobia where I punch a microphone, which is why I went into the 2 pursuits of radio and comedy. I did the first. I'm really making it now, haven't I? The first show. Excuse me for a second, ladies and gentlemen. If you hear a weird whirring sound, I'll just do it like a box in and outside. Check out
We have another microphone if you want to jump. We've got two more if you want to jump on it.
R4, security R4, thank you. Yeah, I'll try this one. How's that
Let's get ready to rumble.
But anyway, the first show I did was at a course, actually, and it was a comedy course, and that was a really good way to do it. I'd definitely recommend. Now this one's for you, but there we go.
There we go.
This is great radio, isn't it? There we go. That's better. That was apologies for the creak. That was creakier than rural New South Wales. But anyway, the first show I did was a comedy course, and I'd recommend doing that for anyone who sort of wanted to get into stand-up. That's a really, really good way to get into comedy because you're with 10 or 12 other people who are all in the same boat. A lot of them are just as hopeless as you are and just as nervous and just as scared. There were people from all different walks of life. There were people of all ages and backgrounds and reasons for getting into it. And I won't go on about the guy that ran it, but it was a great course. And it sort of, I think, because basically it was 2 weeks, and you spend the whole 2 weeks basically just working up to it. You have a very brief session at the start, like an introduction to stand-up. And then after that, they kind of just help you work on your individual sets. And then the last night is a giant show, and that was my first gig, was the showcase of us at the course. And I went on and did the set, and I really went pretty well, and I enjoyed it, and yeah.
So you didn't get booed off stage?
Oh, no, I did as well. But that's, I mean, if I don't get booed off stage, it's a good night.
That was by your own mum.
Exactly, yeah. I never should have invited my parents. Or my dog. I should have taught my parent to do other things besides shouting, boo! Polly wants a cracker, boo! Get off! You're rubbish!
I thought you said your dog.
Yeah.
Is your dog your bird now?
They're all the same, aren't they?
They're all animals.
That's it. Animals are interchangeable to me. I know my dog talks like a parrot. But anyway, yeah, so that was...
It'd be so awkward if you, like, come over to your house, you have a steak ready. I'm like, didn't you have a dog? All animals are the same.
It did have a steak. It's just a dog. But yeah. Well, I mean, if you got sort of like the back of a dog, you could probably get a sort of nice porterhouse. Anyway, but the first show was, yeah. And then, but my second gig was at school. Now, that one was a lot more nervous for.
Because there's people that hate you at school.
Exactly, yeah. You know, other students, teachers, my parents. But they, that was...
God himself was watching.
Indeed. No, he was alright about it.
He wrote you, hey, Andrew, good stuff.
Guys, I loved the line about the watermelon. And he struck down any hecklers, which is good. But it was good. It was, but that was more nervous. That was more nerve-wracking, partly because I had a bigger audience and partly because I was on my own and partly just because, like you say, it was peers rather than just strangers. So.
Partly because you're not really funny.
And that as well.
It's just the accident.
It's all just a giant confidence act. As you can probably tell, I'm not that funny.
Actually, one thing I've noticed about comedy myself, I feel more like the first joke seems like the most important.
Oh.
Which you kind of completely destroyed my theory.
Really?
Yes, because I felt your first joke fell completely flat.
Thanks.
But no, everyone I remember that. Your first joke, no one laughed.
Yeah. No,
but then you recovered. I always felt like the first show, because if you get people laughing, I remember sometimes you watch a comedy show and you're just laughing at something. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, I went to a shop and everyone's just laughing. You're like, why am I laughing again?
Yeah. Actually, no, I don't know. They're right. That night, now I think about it, the night you came, the first joke did fall flat that night. But you're totally, but that's a bad example because, completely. The first joke is the make or break. That is a million times. Have you ever done stand-up or considered doing it?
No, you're going to train me, you said.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Let's do it now. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, the first joke, in all seriousness, and I guess it's like in a musical, if you're putting together a concert, the first song has to be the most powerful, energizing one, and if you're doing a play, then the first scene has to be the really poignant or funny one. Same with the stand-up act. You have to make that first joke incredible. That's perhaps, and I'm guessing the fact that one, I mean, I guess I did recover, but that was only because I had an hour. In 5 or 10 minute sets, you really can't recover if you have a bad first joke. So that first joke, you're right, that's probably the biggest rule actually I've learned, is that the first joke has to be amazing. It doesn't necessarily have to come fast, but when it does come, it can be like 10, 20 second build up. But once you get to that first joke, it really has to set the scene. It really has to justify you being there, because otherwise the audience aren't going to be on your side. And if you make them laugh once, then you've proven that you can make them laugh and they'll be open to it again. So yeah, definitely that first joke. The first one, the one I had with the festival show, I can't even remember what it was, but it was a bit of a risky anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's how unmemorable it was.
Yeah, it was pretty. I grant it was a pretty unmemorable show.
Well, I remember 2 jokes mainly. One was the joke about Fremantle having 2 supporters.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, did I say they had 2 supporters?
Yes. You said the whole. We're talking about the grand final and how the whole 2 of them went.
That was the joke. The joke is that they've actually got 2 supporters. The only Fremantle supporter I've ever met in my life is in this room.
Where is he? He must be a stupid man.
That's the joke. He's not existent. But yeah,
that's my
honestly,
biggest secret.
so, yeah, you're honestly the only. Have you ever met any other Freo supporters?
My brother.
Really? So okay, nice.
My
Well,
mum.
I've never met him though. So is your mum back for it as well?
Well, my mum started going for Fremantle because I went for Fremantle.
True.
So she didn't really have a team, but then also my mum didn't like Pavlich and she doesn't like Fife.
Fair enough.
So she's
Who else does she like?
She likes Ballantyne.
Oh yeah.
That's the only one.
The beer or the player? Your family's not from Perth. Are they?
No, we're all Victorian. We're all Victorian.
Fair enough. Yeah, cool.
Yes, we're not backwards like those WA people.
It's like those filthy Fremantleers.
Yeah, they're filthy rich.
So,
Fremantle's so posh.
yeah. It's like a giant Brunswick, isn't it? It's a giant.
I thought you were saying giant brothel.
That as well. That's Perth. That's the whole of Western Australia. I've never been there. I'm sure it's nice.
The whole 5 people that live in the state.
all the people that live in West Australia are bogans. Bob, Craig, Linda, Rochelle.
Because Western Australia is such a big state, but it's only like the top half. You got Fremantle, Perth, Bunbury,
Albany.
Yeah, Albany.
Broome.
Broome's up the top.
Geraldton. Yeah, true.
But apart from that, you got just a little bit, and then you got Broome at the top, and the rest is just nothing.
What about Kalgoorlie?
Kalgoorlie, that's for people who want to mine. They just want to mind their own business.
Yes. Very good.
So how many we go?
Stand up. You should get there's your first line. Yeah, if you tell that, you would have got a big first laugh. What's the deal? That still counts. What's the deal with people from Kalgoorlie? Why don't they just mind their own business?
And then everyone would leave.
What was the second joke you remember from my thing? The Fremantle one?
Oh, that was later on though. You making jokes about football. Funnily enough, you didn't make an Essendon joke. Like I thought, the easiest team to make a joke of at the time
There's a reason
was
for that.
Essendon.
I can't think why I didn't do that.
Oh, I know. I'm the first to make a joke about any team I go for.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't. Partly because Essendon. I mean, I did make a joke about Essendon, didn't I? I said something about drug cheats.
Really?
And yeah, when I talked about the massive drug bust that happened in Docklands, maybe not. No,
it was in one of your other shows.
Well,
that was the one that I didn't show up to.
No, you missed it. The first 5 minutes was actually just a diatribe about Essendon, and then you arrived just after that.
What did you keep his Brownlow? We all love Hurdy.
The other thing about Essendon as well is there's so many people have taken the mickey out of Essendon. Like it's not. I mean, I've done every joke. You fucking drug cheats. It's like making jokes about how Collingwood players don't have teeth. If it's true, it can't be funny.
Well, I need my daily how many premierships has Freo won. I can't cope if someone hasn't told me. I go up to them on the street, how many premierships has Fremantle won? 0.
Thank goodness.
I thought they dreamt and they won one.
So I thought they'd won one since I asked checked.
Oh, and I usually count that as I won the argument. So if I'm having a football banter with someone, they go, how many premierships has Freo's won? I'm like, yep, I won. There we go, cool.
So your tactic is to badmouth your team before other people do?
No. I can joke about it, but if I'm having banter with someone and they bring up the fact that Freo hasn't won a premiership, which always shocks me.
Yeah,
Like, I swear I would imagine as winning 10.
So
I count that as like, wow, you can't come up with anything original.
No, that's true. Yeah, and I mean, it's the same with the Essendon drug cheats. I mean, you can't think of anything more original. Well, yeah, that's so 2012. And I'm like, seriously, all right, we've suffered a penalty. We lived through 3 long years of trials and executions and defamation and ridicule and now
not winning a final since 2004.
Exactly that as well. Not winning not winning a premiership ever.
Who's that? GWS have just entered. That's not fair, man.
Fair enough.
And Gold Coast.
Well, they'll never win a premiership. Let's be honest.
They're just a team.
Is it a gold where? Anyway.
Oh, I'll be so annoyed if they both win one before Fremantle.
I put $1,000 on them winning the premiership each year, just in case I could retire early. It's like an investment. It's like investing in an obscure product.
Yeah. Well, you're listening to Andrew Kelso here on the O'Grady Factor. So, Andrew, do you have any pre-routines? Before, like, do you just go in there cold, not going through your lines? Do you practice in front of a mirror? Do you practice in front of your mum? Do you practice in front of your dog?
Oh no, my dog is extremely judgmental, so I don't do that. As we established before, he shouts out. No, I really do. I really practice and rehearse like crazy. And a lot of other people don't. And the few gigs I've done, well, I don't want to say. There's many gigs I've done that have gone badly.
Oh really? We'll get to those ones later.
So that's the second half of the podcast.
Yes.
But the first, these are all. But all the bad gigs I've done, the ones that have either really bombed or just not gone as well as I wanted, I haven't rehearsed. The worst gig I ever did, I'd only rehearsed once or twice, and it was just so bad. It was so embarrassing, and the MC actually sort of made fun of how bad it was. That I sort of realised from that point on I had to rehearse unless you're doing specific improv, you can do improv. That's fantastic. I admire people who can do it, get out there and stand up and be completely spontaneous, but embrace that and do it completely, or do the alternative, do what I do and rehearse it properly. Don't do a mix. Don't just basically learn something and give it a go. Don't sort of half-ass. Don't try to get up there with a few lines you've thought of and then just hope you can wing it. Either completely embrace improvisation or completely embrace a rehearsed script. But if you try and do either wishy-washy one, then I think it'll just fall flat. As a general rule.
Proper script or dot points?
Proper script.
Because I've tried to do radio shows with a script and I just feel like I'm reading. Because you can tell when someone's reading and we can tell when someone's not.
Yeah.
So I usually just go dot points, but most of my stuff's sport and I don't need to write how Freo lost another game.
It's going to be a very short script if you write about Fremantle's premierships. Sorry. Yeah. It's sometimes I don't think I've ever done dot points. I've been tempted to, and I've experimented with different types of writing. But I think at the end of the day, I always write a script. What I'll do is I'll start to write just a few lines, and then, because I was sort of naturally a writer and I've naturally got that kind of instinct and those habits, I'll end up writing an entire script anyway. And so I don't necessarily go by the script, but I'll always have written a script for every set until I've why are you filming us? Just on social media? Nice.
Yeah, social media.
Fair enough, definitely. Hi, millions of fans. No, fair enough, that'd be fun. I always completely write a set for everything I've ever done. And even if it's just like a short 5-minute set, I'll still script it completely, and then I'll learn it, and then I'll change it when it feels natural. But yeah, I think a lot. I don't know how usual that is. I think a lot of comics don't. I think a lot of comics just throw together a few ideas, and that's probably if you can do that, then that's fantastic. But yeah, but as I was saying before, don't sort of rely on your own memory skills, because the last thing you want to do is have a set that you need to do bit by bit, that needs to be learnt properly and spoken properly, and then it's like someone trying to slightly do a Shakespeare monologue after I only read it one or few times. Like,
do you bite your thumb, sir? I do bite my thumb, sir. Do you bite your thumb at me, sir? I do bite my thumb, sir. Just not at you, sir.
That sounds like a cross between Shakespeare and Dr. Zeus. I do not like bite my thumb. I say I am.
Do you serve a great man? I serve a great man, something greater man than I. Do you quarrel, sir? Quarrel, sir? No, sir.
So nice. There we go. A little bit. I didn't expect this podcast to include any Romeo and Juliet, but
every podcast should include Romeo and Juliet.
I see you've done the mandatory Romeo and Juliet quotes.
Yes, that's what I read. I go, how do you do a podcast? It goes Romeo and Juliet.
Just so you should know, a plague on both your houses. Sorry, before you get Andrew, one other thing. In Fair Verona, 2 households, Capulet and Montague, and their star-crossed lovers. A pox on both your houses. Twill serve. Oh no, I actually just come from seeing As You Like It at the Globe. Have you been to that makeshift Globe they built?
No.
You know the Globe Theatre, like Shakespeare's original Globe in London. Here we go. I'm talking about the history again. You know that the theatre that Shakespeare did all his plays at in London. They've literally, this Kiwi company, damn Kiwis, have literally. What, bro? This is the best idea. We should totally rebuild the Globe in Melbourne.
Oh, we should build a Globe in Melbourne.
That'd suck.
Oh, that'd be fully suck.
That'd suck. What else are we gonna do with our weekend? And so they've literally built. They're literally rebuilt, and I can't do it.
Why are you doing Scottish?
It's got Scottish. It's South African.
That was Scottish.
They've literally rebuilt an entire globe on the domain near the Minor Music Bowl, and so you go and check it out.
There's probably people out there that'll say it's flat.
It's more of a plate, isn't it?
If you look at it, it's not really a globe. It's more of a flat.
Yeah,
it's a flat theory.
The flat globe theories. The flat Shakespeare theory. Well, the play was a bit flat in parts. But yeah. Anyway, how do we get talking about that? Yeah. So
something about Romeo and Juliet.
Anyway.
Talking about that, have you ever done a show where the crowd has made you change your routine? Or hecklers? Because hecklers has to be random.
Hecklers aren't really that big a deal. Often you get hecklers that just sort of weird. You get one heckler who shout out and no, a lot of the hecklers just are trying to help. I think a lot of the hecklers are like people who kind of think of something funny. They're not trying to outstart the whole American thing. Get off, you're rubbish. I don't think we get that really in Melbourne. I hope we don't anyway.
Right.
Unless you're really bad or you're offensive. But I think if you're just having a bad night, then you don't usually get hecklers. The only time you get, in fact, if anything, I take hecklers as a compliment because it shows people are listening. When I have a bad night, people will just be talking at the back or the front. When it comes to heckling, I generally sort of just go off the weird thing of what they've said. Like that was the last gig I did. I said something about. I think I said something about like a historical landmark, and someone actually corrected me. But they said something. They extended the joke, but they did it about 3 lines too late. And I said, mate, the main goal with heckling is to try and get it to line up with the joke. So stuff like that. But to answer your question,
it's probably like in South Australia where they're a bit behind us.
It's in the time zone. I was before into the border between South Australia and Victoria. It was worse because there's a 3-hour delay for the laughter as well.
Yeah, that wasn't because of the time difference.
No, that wasn't a time difference. That was just South Australia.
I've actually always wanted to do that. Actually, stay on the border on New Year's Eve in Victoria.
Yeah.
Oh, New Year's. Then go to South Australia.
We should actually do that.
New Year's.
You have 2 years.
Yeah.
You can celebrate 2018 twice. In fact, you can literally go from 2018 back to 2017.
Well, back in time.
Yeah. It's practically back to the...
Oh, I should buy a DeLorean. Then we can do that.
So, did you know that the third Back to the Future was going to be set on the Victoria-South Australia border?
Of course. You can see it all through the movies.
So,
like, they actually had South Australia, the manure truck.
And then the Wild West town was actually based on modern-day Adelaide. Yeah, if you hear Marty McFly actually speaks with a South Australian accent, if you listen very carefully, he goes, "Oh, pass me that hoverboard, doctor." I've seen it for so long. But yeah, I think the only time I've ever had to change, and I sometimes drop lines if it's either A, going too long, or B, the audience is much tamer than I thought, or they're just not getting into it. I just want to put them out of their misery. But the one time, weird reactions. This is a totally different point. Don't get me started on puns. The way people react to puns. The amount of people that groan at puns and people
puns
go,
are the greatest thing ever.
I know.
I love puns. They are the best.
They are incredible. I don't understand why. Like, in all seriousness, people laugh at wit. They laugh at jokes, at satire. They laugh at jokes about people, about things they recognise. They laugh at observational stuff. They laugh at characters, and yet they draw the line at laughing at puns. They go, oh. I don't understand where that groan comes from. I don't understand the cycle.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know puns are illegal in China? Fun fact.
What? Really?
Puns are illegal in China.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's probably a pun about that. They're going to try to stop you, but they're trying to stop you.
The Great Wall of Puns.
The Great Wall of Puns.
Tiananmen Square 2.0 would be about the puns.
Tiana Pun Square. Yeah, see, that's good. That's a good. But the amount of people that groan at puns, or when I tell a joke that's even marginally dark, like how I talked about how they built a fountain in Burke and Will's statue, which is ironic for 2 people that died of thirst, and people go, oh, we shouldn't have said that.
Well, we do live in an age where you actually can't tell jokes.
No, well, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I'm not against political correctness, but this is just weird how people are getting sort of. Like people, you can tell who doesn't go to comedy and who sort of what is edgy to some people isn't edgy to others, and vice versa.
I've had my auntie tell me, she tried to teach me about comedy, and she's that's not very funny, but I have a great sense of humour.
So, yeah, I didn't know that your auntie was Louis the Fly.
Yeah.
What did she say? What did she say?
Oh, I can't remember. She was trying to teach me about comedy, and I was just like, no, just leave. just give me money and leave.
Your auntie is Kel Wilson.
Yeah.
But yeah, just give me money and leave. It's not even Christmas.
So?
That's so true. Yeah,
I have no money.
Give me that welfare check and get it. Give me that inheritance. Yeah. So that's yeah. Anyway, the only time sometimes when they are getting very haughty about puns, when they're getting really, really grumpy about them, I sometimes just drop a few puns. Or if I sense they're more sensitive and more kind of sheltered than usual, then I'll probably drop a few of the more dark lines. But that's the only time. I don't think I never added bits because of an audience. Well, unless something really weird happens.
With dark lines, I know a few things that like, you, as I can see now, you're Caucasian male.
Ah, yes.
I don't really want to assume. I don't want to assume your gender, but I'm pretty sure you are a male specimen.
I can confirm I am.
Thank you.
A male
thank you.
specimen.
Yes.
Right.
So, you really can't tell a joke about the minority or
Well,
anything really.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. Well, but why would you? I guess the big answer there is why would you want to? I mean, like I probably couldn't. And I mean, to be fair, I had to be very. There was a lot of things in my show, particularly when it comes to Indigenous culture, and I'm fascinated by Indigenous culture. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to do the show is because there's so much fascinating.
Oh, I'm so Indigenous culture. I remember I went to my mate early this year.
This is never a good start to a story.
No.
Yeah.
No, I was like, it's amazing how there's a whole history of Australia that we'll never know.
Exactly, yeah.
Great wars, maybe even an empire.
Yeah.
All this stuff that we probably never know.
Towns and cities. Bruce Pascoe's book, Dark Emu, was a huge inspiration for this show. And we don't know anything. We know we got 200 years of fairly rubbish history, history that has every other part of the world has, and yet we don't really sort of explore. We don't promote in schools. There are lots of people looking into it, and obviously there's that huge cultural knowledge that's been passed on, the oral traditions and that, but it's not. We don't sort of look at it historically. It's so undervalued in our society, which is ridiculous. And so I suppose that's I guess when it comes to talking about minorities, that was the only area that I was very, very worried about, and I was really. To be honest, I didn't go, and I should have gone to the Koori Centre. I was going to go to a body, and I just never sort of had the courage. But I for now on, I definitely will. Was the Indigenous history, because I really wanted to honour that and be respectful and be accurate to that. And that was probably the most difficult thing by far to write in the show, was because I'm not Indigenous. And so I sort of had, and I did consult a few people on the history and wanted to make sure it was accurate, but that was the hard part to write. But that's not really writing to humour. I wasn't wanting to make jokes about the Indigenous history. I was just wanting to make sure the information in the show be as accurate as possible.
Well, I don't know if it's the same book you're talking about, because I know there was a book and talking about how the Indigenous culture actually had civilizations and proper cities.
That is probably the book, yeah. And that's not mean to state that what happened to the Indigenous people if they weren't empire builders. Basically what the book says is that the idea that they're hunter-gatherers and nomads is not true. Now, even if that was true and they were hunter-gatherers, that still doesn't, for a second, justify the despicable actions that happened to them. But at the same time, it makes it even more despicable to think that it shows the extent of the destruction that the early colonialists went to. And basically, the theory is that they did build towns and cities. There's a lot of evidence, and Dark Emu sort of is great at presenting that evidence. Bruce Pascoe is an Indigenous journalist. He's also a novel writer, but this is one of his short non-fiction books. Basically, it talks about how it shows real evidence, photos from early settlers. It shows first-hand accounts. There's a lot of convicts, because the convicts are often people first white settlers that would go and live with Indigenous people. Their accounts, and of course they wouldn't have been treated seriously, of how they built essentially huge structures where they would use to sort of farm kangaroos, and they'd herd animals, and how I guess the best example is in Lake Condah in the Western District, is believed to have supported a permanent civilised city of 10,000 people. The population of Lake Condah, it's Warrnambool, I don't know, it's about 500 people, and most of them are bogans. Most of them barrack for Fremantle.
Less said about Warrnambool, the better.
I was really hoping I wouldn't mention Warrnambool in this podcast.
Well,
I got 3 episodes.
Okay, that's up there with my thing. You got to talk about Romeo and Juliet and not mention Warrnambool.
Yeah, got to mention. Imagine if Romeo and Juliet had been set in Warrnambool. How much better would it be?
Oi, Romeo!
Instead of eating,
do you have a durry?
Instead of drinking poison at the end, they just eat a Chico roll, and it would have the same effect.
Oh, I love Chico rolls.
They're good, aren't they? I don't know
They're
what
the most underrated Australian food.
They are. They're genuinely very good. I don't know what the dish in them. Chicken, is it?
It's like hot dogs and everything. There's nothing really in them.
No, you don't want to know.
Less said about the better.
But anyway, I did. So that's the book. Yeah, and it's. And I don't want. Again, I can't. I'm not Indigenous myself, so I can't speak for it, and I don't want to make statements about anything that happened. But if everything that Bruce Pascoe's book is true, then there's a huge, phenomenal part of Australian history, a unique history to the world, dating back thousands of years. This Lake Condah city I was talking about before, believed to go back to 8000 BC, which is older than Jericho and older than Thebes and all those sort of all those really early cities. So as a white person, I examine and find the materialistic sort of side, not from the cultural side, and that's just absolutely fascinating. So that was one thing I really wanted to show on my show. And that is the book, Bruce Pascoe's Dark Emu. It's totally changed my life.
Yes, you are listening to Andrew Kelso here on the O'Grady Factor. I'm talking about comedy and what you can and what you can't joke about. I know when I eventually do a show, hopefully, it's probably next year.
Fair enough. I look forward to it. Let Dan pencil it in, shall we?
Yeah. Well, we were meant to do one before I went. I was meant to do one before I went to China, but China got in the way.
China got in the way.
Selfish.
So many comedy careers have been ruined by people going to China.
Well, yeah. Well, they actually have their own stand-up routine in China, and it's it's a two-man thing. So pretty much the two stooges or the two housemates are just, boy, can't get along.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing. That's the type of humour over there. But my thing was actually going to be about the 90s, because I hate the 90s.
90s?
With a burning...
1790s?
Yeah, 1790s,
Okay.
you know. Those days.
Those days, yeah.
I just think there's this decade that people love for some reason, and it's just the worst.
I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I think the whole thing's overrated. The 80s and the 90s weren't that interesting, really.
No, none of them were interesting.
No.
Have you seen a computer out from the 90s? Wow, this thing that probably couldn't even run a app. This is a new form of technology.
It has a screen. Let's all go. I don't say children now. I'm talking like the 1890s. Oh, no. Whoa! Look at it. MacBook 8 2.1. Good. We managed to get it down to the size of your desk. What do you hate about the 90s? Apart from the computer ads?
No, I just hate how it's glorified by people who were born in 1997.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
And a certain website that ends with feed. That has caused a lot of buzz. Are the worst, in my opinion. They're just the worst.
Yeah.
And they call themselves news, more like how I'm also news. And just the love they have for the 90s. I know there was a list a few years ago about the 50 things about the class of 2018.
Yeah.
It's like, the Black Eyed Peas. People won't know that Black Eyed Peas is still a thing, or no one understand what crank up the dial means.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We just don't do it, but we do know what it means.
Yeah, and what was that one? The window. How kids these days won't know about the window, kids these days won't remember.
Well, but these days, remember back when we had the window, now since windows were abandoned in the late 90s, nowadays we just have holes in walls. But remember we used to have panes of glass and holes in walls? We used to call them windows.
A hole in the wall is a British ATM, by the way.
That's true.
Fun fact of the day.
Fun tangent of the day.
Yes.
Anyway, I know, and how you wind down the windscreen, stupid stuff. Like, when you think of say the 1790s, which is another 90s, think of Napoleon.
That's the true 90s.
Yeah, you think of the American, just after the American Revolution, you think of Napoleon and the French Revolution, you think of, the invention of electricity and all the sweeping sort of human achievements. When you think of the 1990s, people go to, if I was to say the 50 things about the 90s, 1790s, I'd say...
Something Macarena, something Macarena.
Exactly, the friggin' Macarena is the most overrated song. It's a good song. It's nothing...
It's a song you see your parents drunkenly dance to, and now you look back as an adult and you're so embarrassed and you just want to die.
Exactly. Well, for me, that's when my guitar gently weeps. But, But I know what you mean. It's stupid. Like, it's a good song. It's nothing more than that. Same with what's that song by Beyonce? All the Single Ladies.
Don't get me started on Beyonce.
Is it All the Single Ladies 90s?
Yeah. No, that was 2008.
Oh, fair enough.
Don't even get me started on Beyonce.
Fair enough. No,
talk about overrated.
So far you got to have a Romeo and Juliet quote. You got to have a rag on Warrnambool. You can't mention Warrnambool, and you got to have a go about Beyonce.
Oh, just absolutely.
What about her? Is it just
no, nothing against Beyonce.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
It's the music.
Just her fans.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, I've never seen a bunch of sheep.
Have you been to Ireland?
Yes, I did go this year.
Yeah, you didn't see a bunch of sheep.
Yeah, no, there was a few sheep.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Barring an Irish accent.
Even this here go, bar, sure.
Top of the morning to you.
It's a bar! A bar, fiddly potatoes bar!
They have like a pipe and a hat. They are the most coolest sheep you've ever seen.
Like a green cap.
Yes.
Leper sheep.
Yeah, leper sheep. That's it, leper sheep.
But yeah, I agree that, and one of the things about the 90s, you friggin', I was going to say Chico Rolls, they're more 70s, aren't they? I think the 90s are so
James
overrated.
Cook came to Australia eating a Chico Roll.
Yes.
They were the first thing people knew about Australia.
Definitely. I love how you call him James Cook, not Captain Cook. James Cook, I think, would
Oh,
be
I
the
know
guy
him
if I went to
personally.
high school with.
No, I know him personally, that's why.
Jimmy Cook.
Oh, Jimmo.
Jimmo.
Good old Jimmo Cook. Hey, Jimmo, what you cooking?
Have you ever seen Jimmo? Have you ever seen James Cook? He's terrible. He can't do it. He burns everything. Have you ever seen James Cook? Yes, I have, on board of the Endeavour. Yeah, I know, it's rubbish. You can't cook it up. But yeah. How did we get talking about that?
Because I'm talking about my 90s and how much I don't like the 90s.
So what would you say? All right, so maybe, I tell you what, how long have we got on the podcast?
When have I pressed stop?
Fair enough. We choose now. Well, I tell you what. Why don't we use this as a chance to why don't I help you put together something about the 90s, a stand-up set about the 90s?
Okay, let's get this going.
Live on air, so I'll show you how it happens.
It's not really live on air. It's probably going to go up in like 4 hours time.
Fair enough. Well, in that
Maybe
case,
even tomorrow. Depends what time I get home.
boy, isn't it great at 11 o'clock on the 19th of?
Is it really 7:18 p.m.?
Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Do you want to wrap it up? Do you have to wrap it up?
No.
Okay. What I was going to say is, do you? So anyway, so have you got any jokes about the 90s? What's the first thing you hate about the 90s?
First thing I hate about the 90s is how much everyone loves the 90s. People who
Right.
don't remember the 90s love the 90s.
Definitely. So, okay.
And it's a cheap. I would say, I want to use the wrestling term as a wrestling fan. Cheap crowd pop. You see YouTubers use it all the time. They mention the 90s and how much they miss the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's the worst.
Yeah, and the worst part, I mean, I don't really understand who it's catering for, because I presume it's people who were born in the 1980s. Because people
You'll think that, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
mostly people who talk about the 90s. And I also hate people who think inconvenient things are better. Like, people won't remember, hey, get off the phone because I need to use the internet.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's better than I'm in here in the studio, I can go on Facebook, because that's how good technology is now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I will agree that this is stupid. I don't think any generation is better or worse than any others, except for Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y. But
Millennials are the worst.
You know that we're Gen Z.
No, we're millennials.
We're Gen Z. We're not millennials.
Yeah.
Are we?
Exactly 1985 to I think 2000 are millennials. People born after 2000 are centennials. How
What?
Raymond does that sound?
That doesn't make sense. Yes, yeah. They sound like cricketers.
The turn of the century.
They sound like Don Bradman. Centennials.
Yeah, they're centennials.
They do sound like Romans, don't they? Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so my younger brother and sister are centennials. Which is weird, because when I went into a sword fight, they both lost easily.
Not
much of a centennial.
When I went to test them at the arena in Cyrene, they both they crumbled. But aren't millennials anyone born after 2000? And
No, millennials are up to 2000.
oh, damn it, we're not millennials.
We are. We're like so entitled.
I don't think so. I think there is a generational gap between people who are about, because you're 21, 20.
How dare you ask me about my age?
Fair enough. So I've gone too far.
I am 21, but
21.
how dare you?
Well, I'm 21. You're 20. I reckon anyone
No,
born.
I'm 21, you're 20.
That's true. Yeah, sorry. They're all blend. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Can we swap ages? I've got my 22nd birthday coming up. But I think of anyone to be over 20, between 25 and 35 to be Gen Y, then anyone who's under 25 but over 17 to be a Gen Z. See, that's because I reckon, and then anyone who's born from 2000 to 2017 is a millennial. That's how I think of it. But anyway, I really think there's a difference between people who are still 21 now in terms of attitude. I don't think we are as stuck up and as entitled. I honestly think people of our age, and I know I'm very biased and blowing my own trumpet, but I honestly think I see why older generations get annoyed at people who only obsessively use technology and who are entitled and who only kind of have no sort of awareness of the world. And I think I think our generation, the two of our age, people of our age do, but people a few years older perhaps don't.
Yeah, I'm not naming names, but there is a lot of people out there who, are very, like I said earlier on, how we're like, you can't tell jokes in 2017.
Yeah.
Because people get offended about everything. And they do. They just get offended for some reason, even though there's nothing to be offended of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting time to be alive.
Like, the whole 5 people that listen to this podcast, one of them will probably be offended by one of the things we say.
Right.
And I do apologise, Mum.
Granted, we have ragged on South Australians an awful lot.
Yeah,
we apologise to all the South Australians out there.
Yes, but talking about like the 90s and that, they're still stuck in the 60s, so they don't even have a computer.
That's true, yeah. They're in the 90s, again, that's the 1890s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if you were to put together a set about the 90s, and that's a really strong angle to take, you could probably You'd probably start by saying the 90s. You'd probably start. Well, you'd start with. You need something punchy. I think that's the trick with the first joke. You need something.
Oh, I kind of got my first joke,
What is it?
which would be pretty much, who's here as a 90s kid, how great are the 90s, blah, blah, then I'll tell them to piss off.
That's good. I like that. Yeah,
Pretty much,
that's
yeah.
punchy. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty much it. Like, all like building up,
Yeah.
like, yes, the 90s, woo! Yeah, you can all fuck off.
Yeah, and then suddenly just totally change tone and go, yeah.
And just talk about how they're the worst.
So then I think the first thing you need to do after that is then go into why you hate the 90s.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's good.
I'd be like, back in the 90s, people didn't dab.
What's
Like-
dabbing? What's that?
You have no friends, so you do it. And you think you're cool.
What's that? Drinking?
Yeah, drinking.
What's that? What's dabbing?
Dabbing, it's what wankers do.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not cool. People with man buns and
Oh.
they dab for some reason. It's meant to be a
I'm
dance
going to
move.
Google the term.
Dabbing's meant to be a dance
So it's
move.
actually, so is that what you just did then?
Yeah, that's
That.
dabbing.
That, like that.
Yeah, but it's meant to be a dance move.
Isn't that, oh, that's so slightly different to, what's his name, Usain Bolt's, Usain Bolt has that signature.
Yeah, it does
move where
that,
he
yeah.
Is that a dabbing?
No, dabbing, you gotta put your hand in your armpits, smell your armpits. It's terrible. It's like, I don't get why people do it, but people do it.
Dear me.
Yeah. They're the millennials. No, centennials do that. That's a centennial thing.
Centennial thing, yeah.
Stupid centennials.
So what are they, people who were born after, people who were born after 2010, what are they going to be? Decadons. Decadons. And then people born after 2011 are going to be yearlies, annuals.
Annuals.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't, and it's weird. It is extremely weird.
Yeah.
You're listening to Andrew Kelso on the O'Grady Factor. So, by the way, did your parents like That 70s Show and just call you Kelso because of that guy in that show?
Oh, don't get me started. I've never seen that show, but I'm told about
Well,
a
Aston
name.
Kutcher plays him, so you know the quality of comedy there.
No, I have much less self-respect after knowing that. Does he actually play it?
Yeah, he plays the guy Michael Kelso. It's one of his first roles.
Michael Kelso. Bloody
Yeah.
hell. The only times I've ever encountered a Kelso is him. And do you ever play L.A. Noir?
No, that sounds French.
It's an Australian game with a French-sounding name set in LA, so it's multicultural. But
That's really
it's about there's a character in that called Kelso who's like a murderer. No spoiler. And him and the 70s guy are the only two Kelsos I've ever known. And there's also a Kelso sandwich shop in Collingwood.
Oh, lovely. What type of drugs are in that?
Oh, everything. Amphetamines, cocaine, heroin. Yeah.
And to the lovely people in Collingwood, we do apologise.
Yes. No, I always like to spend my Sundays with a bit of defamation. Yeah.
Go on, I wouldn't Sim be so happy that we're not live on air?
They would be. We're not live.
Now we're not.
It is so tempting. No, yes. Yeah, there was one time on. Oh no, I can't remember. Yeah. We had one guest come on and yeah.
And yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
With your comedy, talk me through a bad show. Did you get booed? Have you got?
Which one?
Talk me at your worst. Did you feel like you don't want to do it anymore?
Yeah. The worst show I've ever done is when the MC actually sort of ridiculed me for how bad it was. And that was because that was the gig. Like I said, I barely rehearsed. It was only a 5-minute set, but I just stood up. The worst part was my belt had busted, so I was having to pull up my pants halfway. I was having to sort of stand awkwardly so my bloody trousers didn't fall down. And at the same time, I was barely remembering my jokes. So I mean, that weren't exactly ideal conditions. But that's that's the worst. I must confess, and this is I'm being very candid here, and extremely controversial.
Ooh.
But I reckon all the worst gigs or the best. I will put it the other way. The best gigs I've had have been the ones that have been away from the comedy scene. Nothing against the comedy scene. It's lovely. It's fantastic. The people are nice, and it's so there's no better city in the world than Melbourne to get into comedy. But the only thing is, because by nature there's so many other people who wanted to get into it, and there's so many other people, and often if you go along to a night, particularly like when you're starting out and there's only like sort of open mic nights and stuff, all the other people in the audience will be comics, and so they're all too nervous or too kind of insecure to laugh, and that's fine. I mean, I understand it, and they don't hold any grudges against you, but it just means for your first gigs, you just get awful audiences that sort of, and no one goes to see any comedy sort of at open mic nights sort of for the first, a lot of those places it's only comics, so you only get seen by the comics, you don't get seen by members of the general public and sort of people who could be fans. And I've had some amazing. I mean, a lot of great acts have been on the scene as well. It's a fantastic scene, and it's also just the way. That's just the nature of the beast. I don't think there's anything one can ever do. But yeah, the only bad, and there's been a few nights when I've just had disappointing. Sometimes it's been totally my fault. Others it's just been a dud night. But often the worst nights I've ever had has been. I've never been heckled apart from that one time when I was when I was heckled by the MC. Other than that, I've never been heckled by the crowd, and I've never had a bad gig because I've been heckled. But comparatively, all the best gigs I've ever done have been in schools, in conventions and conferences, and places like that. So yeah, a bad gig for me is I guess when the first joke flops, and then when you just get the sense that you're really having to push them, really having to squeeze them to get jokes out of it. It's interesting. Sorry to keep going on about. Sorry to waffle.
Oh well, the podcast is about you, so you can talk as much as you like.
I thought I was supposed to be interviewing you. This is but yeah, the first 2 nights of my comedy festival show, the first night was spectacular. Everyone, even things I wasn't supposed to get a laugh, I'd be, this joke, ha 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 ha.
My dog died.
Oh no, I seem to have broken. I'm having a heart attack. Quick, please call an ambulance. Whereas the second, so it was fantastic, the best possible audience you could possibly have, and they were brilliant. I left feeling elated, and then the second night, it was just dead. They weren't hostile, and they all said they liked it afterwards. But I do a joke, and they're like, "Oh yeah, very good, very good." And they were a bunch of groaners as well. When I was saying before about people who groan at puns, they were groaners and gaspers like you never get. They were people who if I told a pun, they'd go, "Ugh," and if I told a joke that had a modicum of edginess to it, they'd go, "Oh."
But I love edgy jokes. You got to tell edgy jokes.
Exactly. And I mean, they warmed up eventually. You know? I mean, if the worst gig I ever have is one where they just don't laugh, then I'm pretty lucky. But
well, the best thing about puns is that you get a reaction. You do a pun, you get a reaction. You either get a ha 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 or go away, leave. Why are you in my room?
Seriously, it's an unattractive sound though. There's no excuse for it. In all seriousness, it's a really unpleasant, off-putting thing. It's rude to the acts. It's if you don't like a joke, then just don't laugh, or if it's. I mean, obviously, if it offends you, that's a different matter. But if you just don't think something's funny, don't groan. And because you don't get a pun, because a pun's beyond your understanding.
How do you not get a pun? That's the lowest form of IQ to understand a pun.
Exactly. It's no. I mean, maybe if it's making reference to something that you don't know, I guess that's excusable. But just don't groan. It's just such an ugly, horrible thing to do. It really annoys me. Anyway, but then the second night I was like that. The second night were really nice people, and they warmed up, but that was a pretty dead night. So it's interesting how the exact same thing, less than 24 hours apart, could have totally different reactions.
I think I went the third night. I can't remember.
That was the other one.
I think everyone laughed. Everyone laughed when they should. Everyone said you sucked when you said something about Fremantle.
That's good. Yeah, and that was you that said that. You and your family. And for some reason, the whole Fremantle Football Club showed up that night. It was bad luck.
What, Nathan Fife?
I tell you one funny thing on that joke. Sorry, the one funny thing is I do all these jokes about Switzerland. I do all these puns about not Switzerland, Sweden. I do all these Swedish puns, and I think I say something about Stockholm. They're stopping home in Stockholm, and I did all these jokes about how sort of cold and dark and depressing Sweden is in a light-hearted sort of way, and it was just my luck that I had 4 Norwegian journalists, 4 Scandinavian journalists in that night.
Oh yeah, that's not very funny.
Yes, I don't, but they were very nice about it. But it was just what are the chances? Like, I didn't say anything rude. I just there was just happened to be the one out of all the countries in the world, all the Scandinavian countries I could have insulted, and they had to be there that night. But anyway.
I love. I have when I was in China actually. I knew a guy from he was from Norway.
Oh yeah.
And remember once he was telling me, I go about Norway. I go, oh Norway, no way that happened.
Did he say that?
No, I said that to him.
And what did he say?
I didn't get it.
I don't speak English.
Yeah. Actually, I told a joke the other day. While I went up to Townsville to see my mother.
Yeah. Townsville, China, Norway. You're
I've gone to Ireland, Italy, Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Mars.
So
I was at this lady's house. Yeah. I think it's like a
in
family.
Townsville?
It's family.
In Townsville.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she was talking about Christmas. She goes, during Christmas, I'm going to have Bob, Julie, Jennifer, that, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
I go, well, it's going to be awkward if you're not there. She goes, how so? I was like, she didn't get it. And I go, it's going to be awkward if you're not at the party at your house. And she goes, how so? I'm It's like, oh, this is
That's speaking of awkward.
yeah, that was really.
Oh dear. So she wasn't going to be at her own party.
Well, she was, and I go to her, and I go, because she goes, oh, Julie, Jennifer, Bob's going to be there, and so am I.
Yeah.
And I go, well, it's going to be awkward if you weren't.
Yeah.
She just didn't get it.
Oh no, that's the worst part. That's the worst. Oh gosh.
And I was just like, oh, okay.
Oh dear. The other amount of times I told, that's the other thing as well people do, and I shouldn't, I've never had a bad audience. Everyone who's come to my show.
Well, people who don't get comedy don't go to comedy shows.
Well, that's probably not a bad strategy. I mean, it's why people, yeah, anyway. But I mean, well, I guess you can convert them, you can convince them to like comedy. What I was going to say though is there's the other thing that people do sometimes, not so much with stand-up, but I notice, have you ever had the experience when you tell a joke to someone and they go, oh, is it?
Yeah.
And granted, I get told a lot that the people can't tell if I'm joking or not. Which is why this whole stand-up thing is just a giant attempt to let people know that I am joking. But it's like
my life is a joke, ladies and gentlemen.
So, and I said, well, they knew that already. But I go like to say, I wanted to say, I can't remember the example. I think I said the train. I was asking a metro official when the trains were delayed, and I said, when the next bus coming or something. And I made some joke about the bus. And I can't remember what I said. And I said, I can't remember. I think I think I made some joke about saying I was driving the bus. And she goes, oh, are you? That's one thing I notice a lot happens. People just don't read humour. And I think I've got this theory that there's people in the world, half the people in the world look for humour in things and the other half look for common sense. That doesn't mean that people who look for common sense aren't funny or don't have a sense of humour, and it doesn't mean that...
Doesn't mean it, but it's true.
It's true. But it's just nice that that's the first reaction. Is that then they'll go to comedy or then they'll go to common sense. But you see people that sort of laugh the first time when you say something, and then they go, oh, sorry, you're serious. And then there are people that go, oh, really? And then say, oh, it's a joke. So that's interesting, I noticed. It's just a psychological thing,
I know my fiance's sister's terrible at jokes. Just straight over her head. Every joke, oh, it's terrible.
If you're listening.
I could be like, hey, I'm dead. And she goes, oh, are you? I can't stand people who don't get humour.
Yeah.
It's not hard to get a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is a bit, yeah. I don't mind people who don't get humour. What I don't understand is people who, and I really don't like, is people who don't appreciate humour or like against humour, say it's frivolous. And just get lost. Humour is the most useful thing. And I mean, I'm not saying everyone needs to be a comedian. If no one was there to farm and build and do useful jobs and run hospitals, then that wouldn't be a great society either. But you don't have to be a comedian to appreciate humour. And I really do genuinely think that comedy has the ability to sort of maybe not change people's opinions, but it has the opportunity to take the weight, to take the deal, to turn things into big deals into modicums and things that it gives it just freshen things up.
So it's like the Fremantle Dockers. It's been a joke that's been going for like 23 years.
Exactly. Yeah. And like people who don't like, yeah, just.
See, that's how you take the piss out of your own team.
Yeah, that's very good. I couldn't quite compute because I'm thinking if he's making fun of himself, how can I make fun of him?
Well, you're probably high on those and drugs, so you're probably up in the clouds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably going. Yeah.
That's how your comedy shows got good. You did some.
I've got to go now. I've got to go and sack a coach.
Your performance-enhancing drugs. You're like, woo,
let's go. Eighth position. Here we go.
That's probably why you guys lost to Sydney this year in the finals. You're like, we can't win because they'll know. They'll be on our case.
Yes. Put down the Gatorade. Come on, Job. Yeah, that was sad. How that was Job's last game.
Oh, I wasn't sad at all, really.
Happy horse. If I was the Essendon captain, and I haven't been for a while now, I would have let Joe Watson just like say, because he's he's good. He's not. But I think just to avoid the risk of him having a disappointing last game.
So shattering that he never won a Brownlow.
Oh no! Very funny. Oh no, he did win a Brownlow once. It was just taken off him.
No! I don't remember Joe Watson ever winning a Brownlow, really.
Oh no! I do remember. He definitely won it once. Once.
What year?
In fact, he won it once and he gave it away. So technically.
Last Christmas, you gave me a Brownlow. The very next day, I gave it away.
Yeah. So he gifted his Brownlow. Said, here, what's it? What's a Dangerfield? Have it.
What a nice guy. Gave Cochin a Brownlow, then Cochin went on to win a premiership that year as well.
Dude, Cochin's having a packet. He's a shrewd dealer.
Yeah. Maybe Joe Watson gave him something else at that ceremony.
Here's the Brownlow, Cochin. There's some performance enhancers. There's some peptides on the inside.
Oh, yeah. But no, if I remember correctly, and I know my AFL histories. You know your history of Melbourne. I know my AFL history.
So between us, we're set.
And Joe Watson has never won a Brownlow.
Well,
Joe Watson has won as many Brownlows as Freo has won premierships.
What? No, they haven't, because Joe why did... It's very funny.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll tell you what. When actually, yes. Okay, if we're gonna do that, then when Freo eventually do win a premiership, you're gonna have to give it back. You have to give the premiership to Trent Cotchin. They made that for a deal. I'll let you make that joke if you promise that once you finally do win a grand final in about 50 years, that you give that grand final to Trent Cotchin.
And Sam
There
Mitchell.
will be even, and Sam Mitchell, yeah. And then they won't phone you up about it. They won't thank you or anything.
Well, Trent Cotchin did say you thanked Watson.
Did he?
Yeah, Watson just didn't answer his call because he was too busy being in Bristol and New York.
Yeah, so it is hard to run a
What did he
successful
put in
business.
his coffees?
Oh,
What there?
people in New York were much more energised for a while there.
God, imagine asking for an extra shot.
The people in this, funnily enough, a lot of the coffee drinking population in New York won a lot more AFL games that year.
Hey, Joe, can I just get a double shot? Oh, you sure can.
So, do you think he's over there? I mean, is he going back to do it? I think he has.
Yeah, I think he's moving back to America to do it. Yeah.
Honestly, that would be one of my top priorities. If I ever go to New York, that will be one of the top tourist destinations. Is Joe Watson Cafe, just to get served, just to have coffee made by Joe Watson. That'd be like for you having your that would be for you to have your premiership player make coffee. Oh, actually, on second.
Our best premiership player is Bradley Hill. He won one of them against Fremantle.
So, still counts. You said I was rooting for you guys that day, though.
This is Joe Gray Fact, and you're listening to Andrew Kelso. So, Andrew. Mr. Andrew.
Hello.
Mr. Kelso.
Hello.
Sir.
I
Even
go
though
by many names.
Even
None
though
of
you're
those.
younger than me. Sir.
So I can be sir and still younger.
So why the history of Melbourne with your Melbourne Comedy Festival? Because it seems like such a bland topic, and I remember going in and thinking I was a bit weird myself, and I couldn't get words out and all that stuff. Heading into yours, I was like, how could someone make a show about Melbourne Comedy Festival funny? Good thing I knew you. Oh, so I know how you can turn some dry humour. I remember once you did a whole 10-minute thing on why the chicken crossed the road and how that joke's funny.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Thank you.
So I knew you could pull it off, but people who didn't know you and know how dry your humour can be...
Well, it's a simple, they just didn't think it was that funny. I don't know. Well, I guess like...
And that's why you burnt it on day 4.
That's why I left through the middle of my 5th show.
Why the history? Because it is such a... But someone that people don't know about. People don't know Andrew Kelso.
Yeah.
I know... Well, now everyone knows Andrew Kelso, but let's take our mind back to a time where people didn't know that. Yeah, your comedy show, your history of Melbourne. Why the history of Melbourne?
Because I guess, well, like I said before, I've always loved history. I'm obsessed with history, actually, and there are lots of fascinating things about Melbourne's history. And as I was talking before, all the Indigenous history, but even in European history, there's lots of weird things. Tom Wills, the inventor of Aussie rules, had a fascinating life. Even though he helped invent Melbourne Football Club, so for that he's ever indebted to society. But like all these things, interesting. But for example, without me to spoil, the world's first film studio was actually in Melbourne, and I think that's the reason why I actually wanted to do the show, was because I think it is typically such a dry show, typically such a dry topic, and yet I thought that's something that really needed humour to be made of it. And so I guess I mean, it's just a passion. I guess that's the other thing I'd say to anyone who's starting out. And one thing I've learned in 5 years of performing is that you really have to not go with what you love or go with what you know, but don't be afraid to don't do the same material as everyone else. Don't go on the same topics as everyone else. And if there's a kind of nerdy hobby or nerdy sort of habit or pursuit or interest that you have, then just use that to you. I mean, for a great example, I do history. There's another comic called Laura Dunneman, who's fantastic, and she does a lot of she's a huge Frasier fan, and she does all these jokes about the show Frasier, which is such an obscure and specific thing, and yet she gets hours of really great, hilarious stand-up sets out of it. I think that's, and I guess I'd try to do something. Well, that's what I've done with history. Because I love history so much, and I've spent so long knowing about it and reading about it, and I think about history a lot. I sort of know the funny things about it as well, and I guess that's why I want to do it. And also, I'm actually thinking about doing another show, not next year, but the year after, in Adelaide, doing a history of Adelaide, doing a history of. I'm not really tied to Melbourne as much as just because I live here and I grew up here and I love Melbourne. But it wasn't that I was desperate to do a show on Melbourne. It was more I was desperate to do a show on history. And this has been the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and this being my first show, I thought I'd go with the city I know the most about.
Yeah, you want to, you're first to be with someone you care about.
Exactly, yeah. And after that, it's just, it's a
Has Melbourne called you afterwards? Has Melbourne called you?
So, Melbourne, no, they texted me, said I'll see you around.
And you haven't heard anything back?
Yeah, but I'm hopeful. I remember Melbourne and I had a long love affair. We used to frolic through Paris, which was a bit awkward. It was sort of like a love triangle. I don't know. Yeah, but I think that's why I did the show, and even I even considered doing a festival show about. I mean, at the same time, you don't want to get stuck doing one topic. I try and do other stuff that isn't just historical, but that's why I did this show, and I don't think it'll be the last time I do historical comedy.
Well, good example. I remember, like you just said, how you don't want to be stuck on the same show. Jim Jeffries, who's an Australian comedian, got probably mainstream famous because of a whole gun routine thing that was popular on Facebook. Now people that go to his shows expect political satire. Yeah. And he's not really a political satire.
No.
So people go to his shows expecting, satire and get talking about how Bill Cosby wouldn't be the worst rapist out there.
Yeah. I see what you mean. So sort of, and like granted, that is a trap you can fall into is
getting mainstream famous for something you didn't mean to get mainstream famous for.
Exactly, yeah. I actually hate history and Melbourne comedy. I really wish I did, and performing stand-up. I wish I'd never done. Well, but I mean, I guess, and that's true. Actually, that is a trap you can fall into, and I hope I don't just become known as the history guy. Thankfully, the show, not enough people went and saw
the history guy.
That actually kind of works. The reason why, thankfully, not enough people can saw my show for me to become a typecast, but yeah, I can imagine that would be frustrating. And like you see, the other thing as well. I mean, I feel like we criticised the scene a lot tonight, and I don't want to. It's a great scene. There's a lot of people who've been really good to me. There's lots of opportunities, and this isn't just Melbourne comedy scene, but you do see occasionally people who only do the same thing, and they often do sometimes even the same jokes or at least the same topics. And I guess it's probably not an entirely healthy thing to do either.
So, well, if you ever want to do a show in Ballarat, you have a 35-page Wikipedia thing to go from. That's a lot of information.
It's crazy. Go and have a look at it. Google Ballarat's Wikipedia page. They've got everything. I reckon I could. They're actually longer than Tokyo's and Boston's pages, and it goes into detail about the tram, then the timetable of the tram in Ballarat, then the history of the timetable of the tram. There is. Oh, you'd be surprised. Page 18 to 92. Pages 18 to 24. There's like a historical tram that used to run around there, and they're still there. So
it's weird that the tram's running though. That's a bit odd.
Yeah, I know.
It just has legs.
Yeah, it's a dong dong dong. Yeah, it's a sign out of the nightmares, isn't it? Oh. Yeah. The running tram.
Sorry, the tram with Ballarat.
They used to shoot it with a tranquilizer dart. There's a wild cage tram.
Sorry if you've insulted anyone from Ballarat, the whole one of you.
So, you're from Ballarat, aren't you?
No, I'm in Werribee now. Because I used to live with my mummy.
In Ballarat.
She lives in Ballarat now. She's moved up to Townsville.
Okay. Nice.
Before long, she'll move up to Darwin.
Yes. Then
somewhere.
Malaysia, and then Tokyo, and then Vladivostok, going north, basically.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. She's going all the way up. She's trying to find Santa.
So, I reckon she'll find him in Townsville.
Santa's actually my real dad. That's a whole plot twist. Like, my life was written by M. Night Shyamalan, and my dad's actually Santa. So my mum's trying to find him to be like, hey, go see your son.
You do bear a striking resemblance to Santa.
Yes, he grows a patchy, terrible beard like I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you often give out presents on the 20th of December.
Yeah, the 20th.
That year you spent living in the North Pole, the fact that you fly a sleigh with reindeer, the RSPCA aren't happy with that. The fact that you often when you laugh.
I've gone to rehab about my drug addiction.
This is all coming out in this episode.
I'll get a doll and be like... But yeah, so that's the plot twist of my life. Santa Claus is my father.
Nice.
That's the whole Star Wars thing.
Your mother's not... How did she meet?
I'll tell my kids a story about my mother in 20... that's how I met your mother. So that's a completely different thing.
Imagine if you could just do that, just copy the plot of How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, I feel bad for my fiancée because I have to kill her in 2026.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, the mum dies at the end. Spoilers.
No spoil. What?
Yeah, the mum's dead. The whole story of How I Met Your Mother is Ted telling the kids all the good things about Robin.
Yeah.
So at the end of the thing, he can end up with Robin again. Robin,
What?
Yeah, the mum dies.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, so the mum dies. So I have to kill off
there
my
you go.
fiance.
Right, yeah.
So Amanda, I'm sorry.
Amanda, if you're listening.
You have a few more good years. You got
Yeah,
like
yeah.
9 good years
9
left.
good years, yeah. You could do a lot
So,
in that time.
so you're with me. You have 9 years left.
9 years. Yeah. If you leave him, you could have 9 good years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're gone either way.
It's inevitable.
Well, that's
Based
going to
on
be
us-
so bad, though, if she dies in 2026. The
Oh,
cops will be on
gosh.
my ass.
Yeah. And they'll be saying, you predicted it in 2017.
But how did you not know that the mother died? Did you not-
I don't really watch How Much Mother. I should say. I've seen the episodes. I've seen it. It looks good, but
Really? You just, everywhere, like, you can just type in How I Met Your Mother. The mum dies.
I know. Well, I never typed in How I Met Your Mother.
Well, you
into
should.
Google.
No, you just be still looking at Ballarat's 35.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I'm only up to page 17. I've got a lot of Ballarat Wikipedia to get through.
And it was so weird when I found out Santa Claus was my father. It was the
Yeah.
whole Star Wars thing. We were having a fight with candy canes.
Yeah. So
And I go, no, you killed him. And
that's
he
how
goes,
Rudolph got his red nose.
No, I am your father. And I'm just like, ho, ho, ho.
I am your father.
Such a feeling, Liam, you know it to be true.
So, he actually flies around in Death Star.
And then I do my best Luke Skywalker impression. No, that's not true. That's impossible.
That's not bad.
Have you
Sounds-
seen Empire Strikes Back?
No.
You haven't seen
Oh,
any
yes,
Star
I
Wars?
have. Yes, I have. I have seen
Oh, he
Empire
sounds like
Strikes
he's a bit constipated
Back. Really?
when he says
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Oh, when Darth Vader tells him that he's his father, he's like,
The first three are just Star Wars
Star Wars, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and
and
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Then
and
there's
I've seen. I think
Phantom
I've seen all
Menace, Attack of the
6 them.
Clones. There's 8,
I
okay?
think I've seen the 6 originals, and then I haven't seen the 3
You haven't-
newest ones.
Well, one comes out in 2019, so it's okay.
So
you haven't
I'm
seen the-
really bad. I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've seen the Force Unleashed or
Force Awakens
Force Awakens. Or,
and The Last Jedi.
no, I haven't seen either of those two.
Well, The Last Jedi I actually watched the other day. It's probably my favourite Star Wars
Is it
movie.
good?
Oh,
Really?
it's fantastic.
Really fantastic.
Yes. Luke dies.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Spoiler. Yeah.
If you
It turns
haven't,
out.
if you
turns out
haven't
it's all
seen
a
Star
dream.
Wars yet,
Yeah.
you're not going to see it.
It's all set in Ballarat.
It is, yeah.
So,
That's
on the
plot
tram.
twist. That's the plot twist.
Jabba the Hutt runs the tram in Ballarat, and Santa Claus and you appear. Yeah.
That's the plot twist of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that's in Ballarat.
So,
Actually,
in a
have you-
galaxy far, far away, that's very true.
there is a theory, and it's not even a conspiracy theory, it's just a theory,
Yeah.
that Star Wars actually happened, but it was Beatles. Not the Beatles.
What?
Yeah. Someone must have looked at a whole Beatle hive thing, and Star Wars was Beatles.
Right.
So everything in Star Wars happened, but it was done by Beatles.
Okay, because you do often see Beatles having lightsaber battles.
Yeah,
and-
same, yeah.
Yeah, George Lucas just looking at his garden one day, saying, that looks alright.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How the hell did he get anything filmed?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So, yeah, that was really good. But we
Take-
could
take
just do that
one.
better.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's good, yeah.
Action.
So,
You're listening to The O'Grady Factor with comedian Andrew Kelso. Don't you love the name comedian though?
it's
Doesn't-
nice. It feels good.
You seem funny.
Wow,
It
thank
gives
you.
people.
It also has high expectations.
Yeah, they say people think you're funny. It's like Finding Nemo. Clownfish. You're clownfish. Tell us a joke.
So,
So you know. now-
I used to go by Andrew Kelso Clownfish.
But now you're known as well. I'm just known you now as a comedian Andrew Kelso.
Thanks.
Other people just call you that weird person inside my house.
Yes,
Why is he inside my house?
Yeah, the person behind the bandana.
You just go knock on people's doors and
but
like, hi. Did you know Ballard's Wikipedia's page is 35 pages?
And they just burst into fits of laughter. Yes, yeah. The Ballarat's Wikipedia page is 35 pages long. Food, please. Yeah.
Oh, tell
They
jokes
say,
for
yes, we
food.
did know that. Slam the door.
It's like Family Guy. The first episode. It was like, oh, Tom Hanks. What a funny guy, Tom Hanks. I have AIDS.
What?
Oh, they go to the movie theaters and Peter Griffin's like, oh, Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. Everything he says is such a stitch. And it's just Tom Hanks. I have AIDS. And Peter just starts laughing.
Bloody hell.
That's you now. As a comedian, everyone says everything you say now is meant to be funny.
I know, it's hopeless.
So
yeah.
please
that was
don't,
funny.
please don't do a speech at anyone's funeral.
No. Oh, that's a mistake I've learned. Just learn that the hard way. So what's the deal with the guy in the coffin?
Wow, he was dying to get here.
It's just, no, I swear.
Just woke up.
Oh.
Whoa, who died?
Oh, you see, now he's gone from coffin to coffin. Well,
When I said to people stop coughing, that's not what I meant.
That's it. I got on. First we got the open casket. Now we're going to go to the reception and have the open wine cask. So it doesn't work. Why do they call it? I put the fun in funeral.
That's just bad. That's your next show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, funeral.
A joke. Yeah, well, I do it setting here. I have to find someone who dies and then convince them.
A joke at a funeral. No, death at a funeral. Ooh.
A joke at a funeral.
A joke at a funeral. That's your next comedy show.
I reckon you make jokes about funerals.
My fiance doesn't let me go. Doesn't like me around death because I'm awkward because it's a serious situation. Right. So I do make jokes.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So if someone dies, just get away from it.
So very awkward.
What do you say? Yes, you'll enjoy that. Where are you going with your life insurance? Why?
Oh God! I told you there'd be the death of him. When he said he was going deaf, I didn't think that's what he meant.
He told me he was sick. Oh dear, it wasn't my spring rolls.
It's like, God, I remember. I'm so sad that no one knew his blood type. But the thing what he said to me before he died was B positive.
No, that's good. That's really good. That's good. Then he told me it was a type. He told me his blood type was type A, but it was a type O. I stole that one.
It's okay. I stole mine as well.
Fair enough, yeah.
One of the last things before we leave, since we've been here for an hour, 14 minutes, 53 seconds, and the thing's going too fast for me to count.
Definitely, yes. Now we've been here for 1 hour, 43 seconds, 43 minutes.
Yay, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 1 second. Is any comedians you look up to?
Danny Boy. Love Danny Boy.
The pipes are calling?
Yes, that song is hilarious. That often gets me. Actually, that's fun to
That
play
song's
funerals.
about death.
Yes, I know. Again, there's a running theme here. I do a lot of death material. But
Wait, for the death or death?
Yeah, I perform a lot of cemetery stuff.
Isn't it so? My show's about death, and just a whole bunch of deaf people come, and you actually don't have an interpreter, so you tell them jokes and just like.
Yeah. Well, they don't heckle at least.
They just got these gang signs.
The audience is really dead tonight. Hey. Yeah, I'm sure there's a good pun about mausoleum.
Everyone loves a good pun. Again, that's on the list.
Mausoleum, there you go.
Romeo and Juliet's puns about mausoleum.
Puns about mausoleums?
No, I'm not mentioning Warrnambool and haggling on Beyonce.
Oh, is it less so mausoleum? Anyway,
the door's behind.
It's door slam effect. I love Danny Boy. He's a Scottish comedian. He's fantastic. He's what got me into it. And I've seen him live a few times. Never a bad show. I just love the way first he uses accents, because I try and use a lot of sort of I try and use a lot of kind of.
Oh, the Scottish accent.
Scottish accent's a good one. I know, because it kind of the Scot character. Sorry. I think the reason why I do, in fact, my Raw sketch last year was all in Scottish. In fact, I think I've probably stolen accidentally a lot of Danny Boy stuff.
The best Scottish thing I've ever heard was actually in Doctor Who.
What's that? Oh, David Tennant turned into...
No. Peter Capaldi, the current Doctor, is Scottish. And he goes... So he's just turned into Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
So he goes, oh, I'm Scottish. I can complain about things. I mean, really complain about things.
He is extremely Scottish, that man. David Capaldi. You wouldn't have to change it all to become a Doctor Who.
Oh no, he was fully Scottish.
I know, he is. So far the last two Doctors have been
the two of the last three have been pure Scottish, but one was English.
Yeah.
And then a few times when he did his Scottish accent, oh my God.
It's you, Doctor, whose name I can't remember. She's not Scottish.
Jodie Whittaker's.
Yeah.
I know the original one, the new Doctor Who was actually Northern English.
Oh, was it?
So I was like, this is shite.
Shite, I know.
This is bloody shite.
Yeah, it's a Scouser.
Oh, I'm a Northerner. How are you a Northerner? There's a Northern in space.
See the galaxy coming over the hill there. What's supposed to do? We're not going to Mars, are we? Oh, can you imagine a lot of Manchester?
That's a posh Doctor Who. Oh, cheerio, going to the TARDIS we are. Do you have a cup of tea? Oh, I do, love.
Is it Jane? I don't suppose you would like to. Would you? I dare say, all this Daleks are getting my dander up all that. It's really not the kind of gentlemanly way to do things, is it now?
Oh, I would... Well, I'd rather say you don't destroy the Earth, love.
I seem to be... I'm rather vexed by all this lasers and all
heavens.
How did we get to... Yeah, but
I know you can do a good Scottish accent.
Love Danny Boy.
Start talking and then just be grumpy. And that's your Scottish accent.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah. I think it is because I'm not an angry person generally, so when I want to do an angry character, I go straight to Scottish, which is really weird.
That's it. Anyone
And
does.
probably offends a lot of Scotsmen in the audience, but anyway.
Well, you can't really offend the Scottish. You can't make them more grumpy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Which, ironically, saying that will actually make them more angry. I love the Scots.
Well, Scotland's one of the places I've always wanted to go.
It's beautiful. It's really nice. It's very different to England and Ireland, but it's beautiful.
Really? I wouldn't expect it to be different.
Well, I mean, not really different, but you can sense the cultural shift when you go there. Just the food's different. The climate.
Haggis.
It's fine. Yeah, haggis.
Oh, I like some good
have you ever
haggis.
had haggis?
Oh, I've never had haggis.
It's quite nice. It's not bad. It does the
Ooh.
trick.
Oh,
And-
I love some stuff inside
And
sheep's
someone,
stomach.
we got a Scottish friend who made a really good point a while ago that the Scots, for such a small population, they've done left an enormous mark on our culture. For 2,000 people, I guess you could say for the Irish, but not even 2 million people. Is that Scotland? Maybe not even that.
Probably a bit more.
A bit more than that. But
How
anyway,
about you
the
keep
Irish is
talking in Scottish accent while I look
Ireland
this
is at
up.
least a few thousand, like 10 million.
4 million.
Is that all in Ireland? What's
So you got to remember there's Northern Ireland and the Republic.
Too. Even so, though, but either way, I mean that's in both Ireland and Scotland, for such tiny countries have left a huge mark. And we drank Scotch and we listened to bagpipes and we kind of Scottish accent isn't an uncommon occurrence, and yet we still really love the Scots. So
for
it's
5.295 million in Scotland.
Scots, and so there's actually more Scots than there are Irish.
Well, oh yes, sorry.
So that's weird. But even
Yes,
so,
5 does come after 4.
yeah, maths 101, which ironically that's how I count, is 101. That's 101.4. Yeah, I love him. I love Jack D. He's not as well known. He's not really big in Australia, but he's fantastic. In terms of Australian comics, I love Celia Piccola. She's incredible, and I reckon I like her because she takes
Dave
comedy.
Hughes. Do you like Dave Hughes?
Dave Hughes, alright.
Oh, Hughesy.
He's alright.
Hughesy, mate.
I don't mind Dave Hughes. He's okay. He's good. Probably a little bit past I'm probably a bit young for him. But I tell you what, though,
That's a nice way to say you have a higher IQ than your fan base.
He's from Warrnambool, though. So
I think he was from Warrnambool.
He's the Ducks of Warrnambool
Yes.
High. So yeah, there you go. We've done another sin. We've mentioned Warrnambool on this podcast.
We did a sin, and we're at sin.
Hey!
High five. That was terrible.
That
the
was
high
a
five.
dreadful high five.
Yes.
I really like Celia Piccola. I like her because she takes her comedy so seriously. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but she does. Like, I mean, I think she doesn't. She really sort of puts energy and effort into it. She really seems like someone who wants to do comedy professionally and well. So I really like her for that. And I like Luke Heggie. I don't know if you know, Luke Heggie's he's probably, if I'm Z grade, then he's probably about D grade. He probably wouldn't like me saying that. He's a really nice bloke, but his stuff, we stumbled upon him at the festival once, and he
did you
deserves to go
apologise?
huge. Yeah, and we got into a massive fist fight afterwards, and then a giant brawl erupted. And that's why I like him, because he threw a good punch. He's a good fighter. He knows how to hold his own. But he's really. I reckon he has. I don't know why he hasn't become. He hasn't. I mean, not defend him. He's big, and he's obviously well loved, but. He has the potential, I reckon, to be the next Dave Hughes. Not that he's exceptionally good.
Wow, that's a
Is that
compliment.
a compliment? But he's Luke Heggie. Go and check him out. He's fantastic. I've seen him. I've heard a few of his sets. I've bought his DVDs. I've seen him live, and again, he's someone who I've never seen a bad set of. I love Kitty Flanagan. But in terms of not just stand-ups, I really love David. Probably the two biggest influences, Danny Boy for stand-up and David Mitchell for my writing. David Mitchell from Mitchell and Webb Look and Peep Show and all those sort of things. Both of them really, but David Mitchell in particular, I just really find I sort of modelled myself on a bit, and he's exactly the kind of, we seem to share sort of similar ways of writing and similar approaches to comedy. So I really love those ones. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking while you were talking, when we were talking about Scotland, I was like, nothing I hate about the 90s is that they just went through life not knowing. Like, we didn't know the population of Scotland. I just looked it up.
That's true. Yeah.
People have to either look at I think they call them books.
Is that how you pronounce it? Except in Scotland they pronounce them books.
My favourite Canadian saying, a moose loose in the hoose.
Have you read Bill Bryson's? He's another great influence. Have you ever read Bill Bryson's book, Notes of a Small Island?
No.
And he talks about how he goes to the Scottish pub and they're all talking. That's great. He goes, oh, Scooty Moon. He's an American travel writer. And he's hilarious. And he goes to this Scottish pub and he's talking about how they say, oh, it kind of in Bruntoon they croon in June, and then he had a spoon. It's fantastic.
The last thing I'm going to do
Yeah.
is I want you to do some accents for me, because you can do some
No.
killer accents.
Oh dear, I shouldn't have talked myself up to it. When I said I liked Danny Boy for his accents, I was being sarcastic.
What accents can you do?
Why don't you just fire them at me and I'll do
Canadian.
it. No racist accents.
Canadian.
I can't really do a Canadian. I can't do any kind of North American type stuff.
Well, you
Canadian's
can't
kind
do
of
a Canadian, eh?
a Canadian is sort of like it's a bit like I find it's very similar to American, except they say out.
No,
out
eh?
different.
This is more like a Canadian
They
accent,
say
eh?
out different though. They kind of
what
say.
are you talking about?
Fucking, that's good, isn't it?
No, a boot.
A boot.
A boot's Canadian.
That's just what you keep near the door. That's what you find in the shoe section of Kmart.
Oh, you just sound like a Zamboni, eh?
Is that what?
A Zamboni.
What's that?
They use that to clean the ice off the ice hockey stuff.
A Zamboni.
Yeah.
A Zamboni. Actually, now you mention it, it's kind of slightly higher pitched than American, isn't it?
I think
Slightly.
so.
It's kind of nasal. It's slightly more nasally than North American and slightly softer than North American.
I can do a good Southern American.
Give it a go.
Oh, I'm from that's stuffed that up.
Sure. Say I'm from Texas. I just stuffed
I'm
that
from
up.
Texas, yeah.
I'm from Texas. Texas is different to Southern America.
Yeah, you
though.
go. Well, most of
They have
Texas like to be an own
states.
country.
I
For
reckon.
some reason.
I know. I don't understand that myself. I mean, when you think about it, Texas is quite a long way from. I mean, America's a huge country. It's quite weird. Australia hasn't developed kind of them regional dialects like you get in the States and Europe.
Well,
Because it's true.
Australia is so underdeveloped. That was really terrible.
That was right.
I'm just gonna leave.
The thing about Southern
Stuff my own
accents.
podcast. I'm going.
What attracts me about Southern accents is the fact that I can't go from one to the other as well. Do you find that hard?
Yeah.
The thing about doing Southern accents is that they apart from the fact that they talk slow, when you say anything that ends in O, they kind of suddenly go like an aristocratic Englishman. You never notice that? So say they play in the snow.
Snow.
I'm going in Alabama and Greensboro.
Can you do it, Donald Trump?
I'd rather not. I haven't.
Wrong.
I stopped watching him years ago.
You are fake news.
That's not bad. You're right. He's got a weird voice.
Michael Chappelle. Is it
Who's that?
Chappelle?
Who's that?
The other Michael. The funny Michael. That's here it's in.
Oh, Michael Serple.
Serple, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, he does
he
a
does-
fantastic Donald Trump.
Does he?
Yeah.
He does a great Dave Hughes as well.
Yes,
he's
he
good
does,
with
yes.
accents.
Yeah, he's really good. I should go him in for the accents.
We should actually do. I want to get a shot.
I'll give him a call. Hey,
Let's
can you
give
come
him a
in?
call right this minute. Should we actually? No. I'd like to do. I'd like to see him again though. I miss him. He's a good kid.
Wrong.
What about? Can you do? What's your Irish accent like?
Well, my Irish accent is terrible.
Actually,
This is a really, really
See what
terrible
you
Irish
mean,
accent. Dilly did potatoes.
do you find it being immersed around? Oh, that's Scottish. Do you find about being immersed around other Irish people though? That helps. I find I can't do
Well,
it.
you
I
try to learn your
can't.
Irish accent around the Irish people, but sometimes it doesn't really make sense.
Your
you know?
mouth doesn't. Your mouth needs to be reformed.
But then you get
Refurnished to
the-
do that way though.
Well, I was actually in the Republic of Ireland for a few weeks, and I went into the Northern Ireland, which
Yeah.
I think was sound the same, considering they're kind of the same country, but they're really, really different.
You
they-
what way?
Yeah, very soft. The Irish, the Northern Irish sound, for some reason, they
Is
sound
it?
really kind of British in a way. But when you talk Irish, you talk really fast and really, really fast, and people don't understand you when you talk
So
Irish.
talk like that.
Yes, and people just think you're mad because you talk really fast.
The only thing I noticed about the Irish
Oh,
people.
only thing.
The only thing I noticed about how to do an Irish accent, the only trick is you don't. Anything that ends in a TH, any compound verbs like that, any compound letters, what you have to do there is you only pronounce the first one. So it's not Catholic Church, it's Catholic Church.
Yes, it's like
It's
it's
not-
Celtic.
It's not it's not a wretched person, it's a wretched person. You notice that? I don't know. But I'm
And
not
the
very
good
good
old
with
Irish,
Irish
I love the
accent,
sport
so.
Gaelic. They love their Gaelic.
The Gaelic. Oh, don't get me started on
Oh,
the
let me
Gaelic.
play some
I
Gaelic.
love a bit of Gaelic. Did you go to see the Gaelic football this year?
I actually did go see the Gaelic football
What
this
is
year,
it like?
and
It's
I
a
went to
great
see
show,
the
isn't
Gaelic
it?
hurling.
Got the Gaelic hurling.
The
I don't like
hurling.
the sound of that.
They use a ball and a stick.
Is that
that sounds
they all line
totally
up on the pitch and then take turns to vomit
Yes.
all over their shoes.
The Gaelic football is absolutely fantastic.
Really?
Yes, it is. It's
In what way? The Gaelic? You mean the Gaelic football as in the Aussie rules in Gaelic?
No, not the international rules. The proper Gaelic football.
Alright. How's that
It's so
work?
fast. It's just really, really fast. And I just really enjoyed the sport. But I used to watch it in Australia. I just watch it you got to pay like $20 to watch it. But I
Definitely.
watch it. The hurling's much more entertaining because it's
What is this?
kind of like hockey, but the ball's not on the ground.
That's crazy. So
actually-
they beat it with sticks.
Actually, an Irish person said to me once, he goes, hurling, the best way to explain hurling, it's Quidditch.
Oh.
It's the Irish version of Quidditch, which is not drunk people.
So
on
they
a
actually fly
broom.
up. They fly up around on brooms and stuff.
Yes, they do. It's absolutely fantastic.
Right. I can believe that. I can believe the Irish of all people invent Quidditch ahead of the rest of the world.
So, can you do any English accents?
Oh, not really. I try to. I do.
Please,
couple.
please be respectful. This is a respectful show.
I tried to do a few during my festival show, and I did one that I find you've really got your hands at the back of the nose when you're doing the Scotch, the Posh accent. I sound like Malcolm Turnbull. They do. I try to. I remember. There's one bit in my show where I talk about Scotch College, and I say you really get. I mean, the thing about a Posh English accent is you're really trying to. What you're trying to do ahead of anything else is trying to. You've got to find the expressions. That's where
Well,
you say that. You don't say that. You say that.
that.
You don't say annoying. You say dandruff and jolly good and all
Oh,
that.
jolly good.
That is such the thing about English
You
accents
just
and dialects.
bumfluffed.
Bumfluff. What's that?
Farting.
Oh dear.
You
I
bumfluffed.
don't think you'd use that expression if you were
No.
doing a posh English
No,
accent.
so my fiance's grandmother was proper British.
Was she now?
Yes, and she bumfluffed.
I can't do a cockney.
A lady doesn't fart. They fluff.
A fluff, right?
Talking about
Sounds like a bird. Go
talking about
on.
my British fiance,
Yes.
who says she's not British,
Your fiance's not British.
then complains that the tea I made her wasn't correct, and her
Right.
bickies wasn't proper.
She doesn't sound English. She sounds fussy.
She is fussy.
I don't know. She sounds rather demanding.
She's extremely demanding.
She's obviously got an English soul, if not an English nationality.
Yes.
What about a cockney?
She sees a land owned by someone else, and she just has to take it.
Well, what about cockney? Can you do that? I mean, that's hard.
No.
That's hard. I can't do that. That is something. I mean, I think that's something you really have to go and. I mean, that's the thing about all accents is you really have to understand. You have to go and be with them. And so I seem to have grown up with a lot of Scots, and for some reason, because most of my family, a large part of my family is Scots, that's how I got into it, right? But I've never met a cockney person. As probably evident by this terrible accent I'm doing.
Well, see, I always wanted to know how to do a Geordie one, but I'm just not arrogant enough to do a Geordie accent.
Ross Noble. Do you listen to Ross Noble?
No.
That's probably the best. It's a bit like a Yorkshire, but it's not quite as
Well, I know
simple.
a bit of like a Yorkshire accent.
Yorkshire's not too bad. The trick with Yorkshire is
That's
just like
very
roll
French before.
around. I don't know.
Yorkshire.
And so yeah. Don't you love living in Richmond?
Oh.
In Northumberland.
Oh, it is so beautiful.
The thing about
My French toast.
the thing about Yorkshire, Yorkshire's not too bad. You just have to let the things roll around in your mouth. If you ever watch Heartbeat,
No.
that's a cracking show. It's the most edgy. That's the most edgy British show you'll ever meet in your life, and it's all like it's about. That's a '90s show, so you probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But it's all takes place in this wee village, and now I'm going Scottish in North Yorkshire. The Scouser, that's the sort of Manchester. That's one I like though. I'm starting to get the hang of that. I've been practicing that a lot lately from Manchester and Liverpool. That's not bad. Can
Well,
you
I
do
like
that?
the Liverpool.
Can you do that?
You just got to put ew with another things.
Ew. I know.
You're just like a posh girl when anything happens. Ew.
The whole part of, did you ever play the video game Worms?
Wormed.
They're like an old video game.
No.
They had a great
I
Scouser
had worms
character.
once. It was very uncomfortable.
Oh no! And the weirdest part was it makes you talk like a Scouser.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's a quite weird sound effect.
Do you know what I find weird?
What?
Australians do Australian accents.
Oh no! Don't do Australian accents.
No, we do Australian accents.
As in, wait, we try and impersonate.
We try to do
other
Crocodile
Aussies.
Dundee.
Yeah, that's a bit
Oh,
weird.
that's not a knife. That's
Mind
enough.
you, people in England like impersonate, like particularly with the other accent in England. What about Penzance? Can you do something from the south east, like the kind of pirate communities around there in the West Country? I used to be able to do that, not so much anymore.
I know when I was in China, I was involved in a lot of knife contests.
Oh dear, you don't
So-
like sound of that?
A lot of knife judging. So we all
Uh-oh.
people got spoons and forks, and because I'm the Aussie, I was like,
Yeah. As soon as we
"No,
found out you're
that's not a
Australian,
knife." Yeah, people just bring knives to me like, "Hey, sir, is that a knife?" I'm like, "That's not a knife."
no, sorry, that's not a knife. This is a knife. You can never say that sensibly, can you? That sentence. The amount of times that people working in hospitality go, "Is that a knife?"
Don't get me started on hospitality.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
That's how we're closing this show. Hospitality.
What way?
Because there's two things that are
Yeah.
confusing. Carpenter.
Yeah.
you think that person works with carpets.
That's true.
Hospitality.
You think you work in a hospital?
Yes, it's the most annoyingest
Oh
thing.
my gosh, you're right.
Oh my god. A few days, last time I went up, not last time, the time before I went up to see my mum, we were talking about it. And if you work in hospitality, it's hospital.
Oh dear. So all these people are going into studying hospitality thinking they're studying medicine.
Yes. Like being a carpenter, just say you're a tiler. And you serve food at Subway.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a tiler. Oh, yeah. Do you work with tiles? No, I make Subway sandwiches.
A tiler, what?
You work with tiles.
What? You mean your name's Tyler?
No, tiles.
Yeah.
You know, you put tiles on the floor, on the roofs. Yeah.
But then why would you work at Subway if you?
That's the point. It's like hospitality. You think it's hospital.
Yeah,
but it's not.
True. Yeah,
well, carpenter sounds like carpet, but
carpet,
it's not.
Yeah. Well, woodworker. I mean, that's
Andrew, comedian, but he's not funny. You know.
Exactly. I know that. Well, that's one that a lot of people. Well, comedian. A lot of people seem to think I should work as a. I don't know. As a. I don't know. I thought no. But yeah, a lot of hospital. I mean, yeah. Does that mean that people who work at a hospital should be working in a restaurant?
Yeah.
So doctors just suddenly serving
Well, that's
tables?
what a lot of nurses are, though. They want to be a waitress, so they go into a hospitality course. And it was the other way around. Now, a lot of people who work in hospitality want to be a nurse.
You know what I reckon is on that sort of similar topic? Aerodome. Aerodome is a far cooler word.
You think of hospitality and you think of aerodome.
Aerodome, I know. That's just me.
Again, that's on the list of the show.
So there's a list of things on the show. Yeah, I guess it's because hospital is a place you go. It wasn't always like a medical place. It was just a place you'd go for hospitality, and you'd go to. It was a place where you looked after a hospital, and hospitality is just when you've been looked after. So I guess that's what it is.
So you use the word hosp.
Hosp, that's it. Yeah. So you should, instead of studying hospitality, you're studying hospital, and then hospice is like that's like working in hostels.
And hummus is a dip.
Yeah, don't even bring hummus into it. That just complicates things even further. Then I wanted to study hummus, but I ended up studying hospitality.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Oh no! And then you go to the day one hummus class.
Like I wanted to become an art major, then I got a real job. Like, so awkward.
So what do you do?
Anyways, this is the O'Grady Factor, and thank you very much, Andrew Kelso, for coming onto the show.
Thank you. I hope I didn't talk you
I can take the gun away from your head now. You're safe to leave.
Thank you. You don't have to though. I was getting used to it.
It was a company.
It's Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
My only semi-famous friend I know.
Oh, so that's terrible. Who's that?
He's coming in after you.
Yeah,
you're my warm-up. Yeah.
No,
like your Z grade celebrity, I've got a Y grade.
Yeah.
And he's coming in straight after you.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much for coming on. This is the O'Grady Factor with Liam O'Grady, if you didn't know that.